Hi guys, my name is Spencer, welcome to Sphinx Reads, and today I will be sharing with you a TBR challenge for the year 2021 that I am participating in. This TBR challenge was actually made by Caddy from our Goodreads group, Middle Grade Madness. I'll have that linked in the description. So this TBR challenge comprises of 10 reading prompts, where each of the prompts has something to do with something like an event that happened in 2020. So this entire TBR challenge will be kind of a 2020 commemorative TBR challenge because the year 2020 has been kind of eventful and we want to kind of look back on the year 2020 and just read stuff that's related to any of the events, the many events that happened in 2020. I hope that's pretty clear. I'll give an explanation a little bit on these prompts and what I plan to read from these prompts. So the first prompt is the 46th book on your TBR shelf, and I assumed that is the 46th book on your Goodreads TBR because that's where the TBR challenge came from. And this is in honor of the inauguration of the 46th President of the United States. Even though technically I think the inauguration of the 46th President, Joe Biden, was this year, 2021. I might be wrong. Please correct me on that if you're from the US and you know better than I do. Elections happened last year, so. And the 46th book on my TBR shelf is actually The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I was really happy to see this because this has been on my TBR for the longest time. I think ever since I was in high school. And in case you didn't know, this is a diary of a young girl. I think she's 15 years old. I'm actually reading it right now. Anne Frank is Jewish and she kind of explains her day-to-day life as a Jewish person during the Holocaust. At the part where she's still in hiding, I don't know if that's going to change later on and what's going to happen. Honestly, I'm that uncultured, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm happy to be finally getting right into this and we'll see where it goes. So the second prompt is a book with a red cover, and this is in remembrance of the Australian wildfires. And I was actually looking through the shortest books on my Goodreads shelf, and the one that immediately had a red cover on that, even though it's not really the edition that I have, is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I'm not sure if I'll actually read this one for this prompt because I ended up having a lot of classics on this list and I'm not sure if I'm ready to read that many classics this year just yet. However, this book has been recommended to me a lot, particularly by really intelligent people. I hope it's really readable. If you have read Fahrenheit 451, tell me what your experience was like in the comments and let me know. The next prompt is a book written by an African American author. And this is in honor of the Black Lives Matter movement. So the book I'm planning to read this year in relation to that is actually very fitting to kind of the theme or the reason why this prompt was made, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I've actually seen the film for this and it was really good. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things. This is a story about a girl named Star who witnesses her best friend Khalil be murdered by a cop. This book has become really popular in recent years. I'm not sure when it was published exactly, but it did spark a lot of discussions on the Black Lives Matter movement and police brutality and the different opinions on that. So the next prompt is a book with a major character that has a life-threatening disease or illness. And if it wasn't obvious already, this is in remembrance of those who unfortunately didn't survive COVID-19 and looking at the impact the virus had on our lives and the world. I was looking through my TBR and again, I was looking at the shortest books because I am reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson this year, and if you don't know, Brandon Sanderson writes really thick books. I'm trying to keep all these TBR prompts, the books I'll read for them, really short. And apparently the shortest one I have that is kind of related to that is A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. So this is kind of actually taking me out of my comfort zone because I don't really read romance. So I especially don't really particularly steamy romances or erotica and things like that. From what I hear, this is the more tame romance. I'm not against that if you like those kinds of romances at all. That's just not my taste. I feel really uncomfortable in those kinds of literature. But yeah, I have a vague idea about this story because the movie was really popular back in the day with Mandy Moore and whoever the heck the main guy is. And as I understand it, the main character is Jamie Sullivan and she has leukemia, I think. I think that counts as a life-threatening disease or illness. I don't think it really makes me think of COVID-19 because, that's different from a virus. Maybe if I find a different book that's more virus related, I'll read that. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. The fifth book for this TBR challenge is a book that belongs to the contemporary genre. I don't really know why the explanation of this prompt is the way it is. If you know, you can let me know in the comments. It just says the Pantone color? I don't know how to say that. Pantone color of 2020 is classic blue, which is a calming color that also represents the unknown. Which I'm not sure how the unknown or blue relates to contemporary, because when I think of contemporary, I think of like just like real life, just like day-to-day life, just like normal life stories, if that makes sense. Pretty much things that could happen to you like right now in the real world. And I guess in that way, we don't really know what's coming like in the future, so is contemporary about the unknown? You can let me know in the comments what do you think this prompt means. And the book that I picked for this is actually Waiting for Fits by Spencer Hyde. I'm pretty sure this is not a very popular book. It actually has kind of low-ish ratings on Goodreads, but I love the cover. And I just have a feeling that this is going to be a really emotional book, and so we'll see whether or not I like this book or not. The next prompt is a book set during a war. And the reason for this prompt is commiserating many wars that occurred around the world. And the book that I picked for this one, actually, I was looking through my TBR and I realized, man, I don't have a lot of books that are like set during a war. And so the books that I did have on my TBR, I had to like look at the description, like, okay, what is this book about? Like, and the first book that I found that somehow related to war, I think this is more civil war. You can correct me if you've read this book, but the book that I picked is The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. I hope I'm saying that right. I pretty much don't have any idea what this book is about. I just know that a lot of people love it and it made them cry. And I'm all about books that make you cry. I do want to get into this book like with pretty much no idea what it's about, just because it did have a lot of hype, I believe, when it came out. So we'll see. The next prompt is a book set in Europe, and this is Accepting the End of Brexit, finally, and the UK officially leaving EU, I'm assuming that's European Union, with or without a deal. I'm not sure about the end part at all. I actually have no idea what Brexit is about. I looked this up right after Caddy put up the TBR challenge, and I still could not understand, like, what is this about? Like, what's the European Union? I mean, obviously a union of countries from Europe. Maybe I might be wrong. I don't know anything about the world. Like, I do try to be aware about a lot of social issues and topics and politics, but sometimes it just gets really overwhelming. I can't keep up with everything that's going on, and I don't want to really advocate for something that I don't really understand. There's some things that I like, yeah, that's pretty obvious, that let's do that, like, let's support that cause. But there are other things that I'm just like, I have no idea what the heck is going on and what you guys are talking about. So I'm just gonna like stay silent until I know more about this topic, and then maybe I can actually take a stand on it. But if you have a really simple and like clear explanation of what Brexit is, what it's about, especially if you're from the UK, please let me know in the comments, or provide links to readable articles, because I just could not understand a lot of the articles that I did find. Anyway, I went on a complete political, hopefully not like annoyingly political tangent there, but I was planning to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and Jane Austen is an author that I've been wanting to read for a while now. Her books are obviously really popular, they're all classics, and I understand that her books are really funny and witty, but also they can be emotional. I've seen clips of the Pride and Prejudice movie with Keira Knightley. All the scenes that I've seen, they're like crying, and there's like the rain, and like his hair is always wet, so yeah, it's wetting. My hair is also wet. But yeah, I'm planning to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I hope I like it, because I do want to read all of Jane Austen's books. I mean, Murphy Napier has hyped Jane Austen's books so much on her channel, so I want to check everything Jane Austen out. The next TBR prompt is a book in which the main character plays a sport. And the reason for this is making up for the postponement of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. This was kind of a difficult prompt for me, because I am not a sports dude at all. And so, like, with the prompt about like the war book, I had to look through my Goodreads TBR and check if there's any indication of any sort of sport in this book, because usually if there's a story and it says like basketball or soccer, my mind just immediately shuts down, like, not for me. Anyway, I did find one book, and it's We Dream of Space by Aaron and Shada Kelly. It was funny because it was literally like in the Goodreads description, or I guess the publisher's description, it literally kind of said like the main character likes basketball. I was like, oh, main character plays a sport. I'm not sure if that's a huge part of the story, if it's a significant part of the story at all, but it says basketball, so I'm just gonna count it. The next one is a poetry book or a book written as a novel and verse. I'm not sure I understand correctly what the reasoning for this prompt is, but it says the Oxford Dictionary announced that this year they'd chosen multiple words of the year to reflect an unprecedented year. I'm not sure how that relates to poetry in general, just because poetry is unpredictable. Is that it? Because poetry can be have a rhyme, or it can be free verse. I don't know. Maybe that's it. If you know anything about why this prompt is, how poetry is related to a word of the year, an unprecedented year, let me know in the comments. So I've actually written down here Memories by Lan Liev. It's a collection of poems, and it's basically about heartbreak and just things like that. I've been wanting to read Lan Liev for the longest time. She was really popular when I was, I think, in high school, late high school. I really had an interest in reading her books, but since I started to want to read more genres and different formats or styles of writing, I think this is her first published book, and so I put that on my TBR just because I want to experience it at some point. But recently I've actually wanted to read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. The other day I was literally just watching Nana from Lit Nana. Go check her channel out, she's amazing. You probably already know her. She was just raving about how good this book is, and I'm like, this is my sign to change the book that I'm gonna read from Memories to The Poet X, and I think that I'm gonna like The Poet X. I did listen to a sample of the audiobook, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this, but I just heard a lot of really good reviews from people who don't even like poetry that much, and they still enjoyed this book. They loved the main character and just her telling her own experiences. I'm pretty sure even though this is written in verse, that there's not really a rhyme to it. Just listening to the audiobook sample, I'm like, this doesn't really rhyme, but it has a rhythm, it's free verse, but it's got a rhythm. I have no idea how poetry works, so bear with me. And the last prompt is a middle grade book, and this is celebrating our group, Middle Grade Madness, reaching 400 members, which is amazing because this is such a great group to be a part of. If you love middle grade, please join us. I'll have the link in the description. And since I love middle grade and I pretty much read middle grade all the time, I'm not too worried about reaching this prompt because I know I'll get to it. But I did write something down, one of the shorter middle grade books that I have on my TBR, and that is The Magician's Elephant by Kate DiCamillo. One of my favorite books because of Winn-Dixie was written by Kate DiCamillo, and I really love that book with all my soul. I've only ever read 2 books from her, and the other one that I read was The Tiger Rising, and I didn't enjoy that book at all. Apparently a lot of people love it, but it wasn't my cup of tea. So I do want to give this author another chance, or try out another one of her books, because most, if not all of her books are on my TBR. I want to read The Magician's Elephant and The Tale of Despereaux. I just love her writing style. I'm not really sure what The Magician's Elephant is about, but I'm willing to just get into this book without having any idea what it's about, just because I love this author's writing style, and I'm just excited to be immersed in that again. Those are all the TBR challenge prompts and the reason for them. This is basically a 2020 commemorative TBR challenge. I'm not sure if that's grammatically sound. But those are also all the books that I'm planning to read. I'm not sure that I'll read all of them or if I'll change what I'll read for each of the prompts. Later on in the year, as soon as I accomplish all 10 prompts, I am planning to do another video reviewing all of these books, kind of have a TBR challenge wrap-up video for you guys. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned and your thoughts on them. Let me know if you are wanting to participate in this challenge or what you are reading this year that may fit into any of these categories. I would love to hear your thoughts and or recommendations. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please forget to subscribe so that you can do it later, and have a great day.